We flipped a coin, okay? You and me. You and me. CoinFlip is sacred.
Y'all ready for a show today, baby?
Go time, baby. We've been waiting all week for this. This is where it happens right here, man. We man up, we stand up. We man up, we stand up. We all we got. We all we got. We all we got. We all we got.
Hit anything that moves. We're playmakers, man. We the best, nothing less.
You don't like this? Trust me, you don't like it.
We're between the white lines. This is football. Welcome to the big league. I won the toss. I took the football. Drive it down that throat.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your skull?
Hey, every season is full of defining moments. Let's make this day a defining moment for us in our quest.
Welcome, everybody, to Week 9 of the NFL 2020 season. Happy Friday out there. Hopefully, everybody's enjoying their week, and now we get ready for should be an amazing, awesome weekend all the way around. Hopefully, we can move on past the political stuff. Seeing some of it again on Twitter this morning. I try to hope that one day I can just open Twitter and it be back about sports again. Looking as though Biden will probably win. So, congrats to him and his team. And I said this, Monday or whenever it was. Obviously a conservative person myself and voted for Trump, but will always and have maintained respect whoever the president of the United States is, regardless, white, black, purple, green, Republican, Democrat, independent, doesn't really matter to me. I just hold that position in any elected official, very highly, regardless who it is, and hope they do the right things for the country. So if he's the one that gets elected, I support that decision, and hopefully I really just want it to be over with, to be honest. And I don't know what Twitter is going to do after that, because we kind of hopefully just get back to some sports and, push-up contests or something like that. I'm just ready for it to be over with, because we got so much great sports going on right now. And most importantly, we're almost can call it Masters Week. I almost did the quick kind of glance pod, and I was like, I don't want to be flashing our, in a hurry to get content out there, because for me, especially, I know it's a little bit different because NFL and college football and so much is going on. Normally we get to just focus on the Masters nonstop, but we kind of can't. I want to enjoy that week, right? It's probably my favorite week of the entire year. I'd put opening weekend of March Madness. Probably the divisional, maybe conference championship of the NFL is my favorite. One of those 2 weeks. I like it when there's the 4 games, but conference championship Sunday is probably my favorite Sunday, even over the Super Bowl. Generally, those games are more. All right, probably because you get a little annoyance of hearing about the Super Bowl for so long, especially when they have the 2 weeks in between. But I just like conference. You get 2 games for one, and then generally those games are better in theory most of the time. There are some good Super Bowls at times too, but so those are up there. I really like the British Open. I've always enjoyed that, just for me more than anything, just because it's a change, getting up in the middle of the night, watching it's kind of a fun. But I mean, as much as I love football my entire life, the Masters for me is moved way up the list, especially with my love for golf in general now. So, awesome time. We got the Breeders' Cup, which I'm a big horse guy too. Not as big as OG John, who's running that for us, and Slack is great. In general, the talk that goes back and forth in there, and the horse channel and betting channel, all that kind of stuff is awesome. He's already posted last night his stuff for today, and then I think should be posting his Saturday write-up here shortly this morning. So that's awesome. It's all free this week. I mentioned that on the Smash. All our written content is free. We obviously got college football almost every night right now. So that's been fun. Big slate tomorrow. Of course, NFL Sunday is going to be, another, I think 11 game slates what we're looking at. Last night we had NFL. NASCAR is coming to an end for this season. MLB and NBA is already over. Looking like potentially NBA is going to start December 22nd. I think they're trying to wait to finalize that, but all kinds of things going on, this week. The Houston Open is looks like it's a challenging course, which is nice to see for once. Minus what Sneds took away the first round leaders from us. We had Davis and Scheffler in the house at -3, and then Sneds finishes strong. I think he got to -5, maybe 4. I can't remember. But outside of that, very, it's going to be a low number and maybe a plus number cut that we hadn't seen in a while. So that's awesome to see. But I wanted to get kind of been researching, get everything ready for the Masters. Obviously we got pricing out, so that kind of spins everything up and gets things going. But, I wanted to dedicate the proper time to the stuff we still got going this week. No reason to rush into the Masters. We got all the time in the world. We'll probably do the smash early, or at least a preview early sometime this weekend, get it out ahead of, since we already got pricing and all that kind of stuff for sure. But we'll have, tons of coverage. Sunday, obviously, we'll go back to all paywall. So if you've enjoyed the free preview and you want to join, you can use the code MASTERS, get 30% off any package. It also gets you into the drawing for the limited release Scotty Cameron T22 Newport 2. Very rare. Wasn't many of them made or out there. Can't find them in retail no more. Aftermarket, you can get them, upwards of close to $1,000. But someone's going to win that. If you're a new subscriber, you upgrade to the full site, you get in the drawing. We'll be doing rate and review giveaways so if you rate and review us on iTunes or subscribe on YouTube, those are our 2 big pushes right now. It's free to do. Still going to do giveaways there. So make sure you do that now. It gets you in. If you've already done it, you're still in the drawing. I keep all that, ongoing. So you don't have to do it again, obviously, because you can only rate and review once and then subscribe once. So we'll start those probably, coming up Sunday, Monday, do some giveaways on Twitter. So pay attention to @Gups Corner or my Twitter as well. Listener League is up, put it up maybe yesterday, day before. It'll be in the pod as well. Listener League for the Masters is up. If you want to go ahead and check that out, it is 600 people. So that's awesome. Big pot there, limited rake. So let's get that filled up. I know that's probably that's one of the biggest we've had, especially as the season was ending. We were getting pretty big on the golf one, obviously scaled it back with NFL going, but DK wanted to bump it up this week. I think we'll have a lot of eyes on the Masters. So go ahead and get in that before it fills. Last week for me, it was weird. Kind of like college football main slate. I like Cook, talked about him. I talked about Sunday morning with the weather that, is it a week we just go to Mahomes and it was one of the safer games as far as weather goes, high team total. I just hope you get the right pieces. Did I do that? No, I didn't go to them. If you did, you won a lot, probably, no matter who you really paired with them. And if you paired them all, which we talked about, I was going to be kind of the fade of the week just because of pricing and all that. Then we got to Sunday and the weather and the wind and the craziness, and there's multiple games affected. I mentioned on the Audible, which is another reason to get on there on Sunday mornings, or at least watch the replay. We normally get it done with a couple hours to go. I talked about the Chiefs some. I liked Cook. Didn't get there. I didn't build a lot of lineups on the main slate. Wind up breaking even on the day, and most of it was I wanted all back on the afternoon slate. Played Herbert, and he helped a lot on that afternoon slate. But betting was 5-7 on the week. Pretty average. I mean, not at what I wanted. The Cowboys game kind of swung things. Definitely not a bad beat, but it was kind of terrible. I think they could have called that guy down when they got the fumble and then immediately basically wound up having to do a safety. So 10 points there out of nowhere when it was kind of a sluggish game. It's kind of what I predicted it to be. So I thought the 10.5 was too much in that kind of environment, and it was all the way till the end, but that's how betting goes sometimes. Did have a 2-star last night on the Packers. I was an easy cover. So starting out good on NFL there. Listener League, Fam wins it. It's always nice to see one of the original OGs there of Gups Corner win it. He had 202.94 points. He had Mahomes, Henry, Williams, Tyreek, Bourne, Green, Bryant, Cook, and Dolphins. So he got Mahomes, Hill, and Cook all in there. So hopefully he played that and other stuff. I know I saw some of the stuff in Slack, so I know he had a good week. Great lineup, made the right calls, got on Cook, went with the, easy Chiefs right there. Anybody against the Jets seems to be pretty good play these days. Mr. Mike 13 gets second, and El Bulliard 64 gets third. He's already been a top 3 this year. I think he won it one week, so he's already in the Listener League, Champions League, I guess you call it, for the end of the season. The other guys have accepted their invites, so that's starting to fill up in there. It's all, I think people are anxious on that. We'll get the prizes on that settled out after the Masters. I'm kind of focusing on what our giveaway is going to be for the Masters, and then I'll finalize what we're going to give away for that playoff, which will probably be, we'll probably do it week 15 or 16. I'm trying to think on how I want to do that. We'll get all that finalized after we wrap up Masters week, where all of our attention will be glued into golf, and then still all of our football and stuff going on. Sunday slate, 11 games, 8 early, 3 late. Last night, Packers versus 49ers. Sunday night football, Saints versus Bucks. Monday night football, Pats versus Jets. Boy, I bet they wish they could flex that or move another game in there, but still, you got Cam, Darnold should play, stuff like that. It'd be all right. The debacle of what is going to go on with the Patriots. They'll probably win. You would think they would, but we'll have my showstoppers out for each of those. Wrote the Packers one up yesterday as well. Obviously I was big on the Packers as far as covering. I didn't know if it was going to look that easy, and 49ers made it a little bit of a game. It was just such a crazy slate because you had so many injuries, and you could literally leave $5,000 on the table with, all the $200 players that were in play last night. So I went kind of light, not a good night for me on slowdown at all. College football or NFL, no go there, not good, but been having a good run. So we'll keep it going. We got a lot going on. If you're new to this pod, I do the playbook, go position by position, talk about key injury concerns, give some play, fade, and values. Then I do a last 4 out for me, some stacks, betting contest, and we get out of here. Try to keep this, try to keep around 30 minutes, really. As I always talk about, it's a saturated market, and just want to get you the information that's pertinent at this time. Always a moving target these days with COVID, and any given day, a game could potentially get moved, postponed, canceled, stuff like that. So definitely the later in the football week, the more relevant the stuff gets, and just kind of change that this year. You can't get all in on Thursdays and Fridays on your entire slate. You try to get your foundation built, but you want to be able to, be flexible with so many things that can change these days. And that information that we put out Saturday and even Sunday morning becomes the most important on the NFL Sundays. Quarterback, Breeze is questionable. Stafford is in COVID for contact tracing. Sounds like everything, and the betting market really hadn't moved too much. I think he's going to play. But that's something to keep an eye on. For me this week, it was kind of it feels like a don't get cute week. No real injuries that I think are going to open up value per se. But you never know. We'll see how the injury report looks this afternoon. Friday's injury practice reports are normally the most telling. I like Kyler this week to start it out. Shocking, right? But they haven't been on him all week. But I mean, he's really coming in. They're playing well. Dolphins, I think, are a little overvalued in the market right now. I don't want to call it like a false win or a flashy win last week, but a lot of turnovers and defensive touchdowns and stuff there made that look better than what it was. But they won, right? And so, Arizona at home. He's, priced up. He's getting up there. He's becoming one of the top 3 price guys, deservedly so. $700-800. Should be a competitive game. Not one of the more higher scoring totals. So that may give a little cause for concern. But just with his rushing ability, much like, Lamar, but, the difference with Kyler, in my opinion, is, he can rush and he can, he get 50, 60 yards, potential rushing touchdown, but he throws well, and he can still get a ton of passing, where Lamar seems at times to be limited there. So, and he's coming in, I think maybe it's surprising, he's coming in lower ownership than Mahomes, who's more, much more. Russell Wilson, $200 cheaper. Wilson's over twice the ownership, at least right now on a Friday. So I like that part of it. I like some of the combos and matchups, with his weapons have this week against the Dolphins. My second play is Wilson. The Bills are just banged up, and they have injuries. Some guys that aren't coming back this year in the secondary that we've talked about before, that I think, it's going to start hurting them. And we got a 55-point game, total. We know Seattle's, best offense in the league. He's got, the beast and Metcalf. Lockett's, can go off very quietly, 2 weeks ago. But Metcalf's just hard to ignore, size and everything that he has. He stands out more than Lockett, but would Lockett have, 2 weeks ago, 15 for 200 and 3 touchdowns or something like that? I like both those guys this week, but Wilson's going to be the one getting them the ball. We know their defense, is suspect at times, and Buffalo can move it. This game, will probably wind up being one of the highest. It's second right now behind Chargers and Raiders in ownership, but it's going to be right there. It's one of the, more. But the one thing about this week, when you look at the ownership spread on the article I put out, we've been having game ownerships like 130% aggregate totals, 125, much more spread out. You have what is it? 7 games from 74% to 100%. So a lot more spread out slate where I think you can, you don't have to worry about missing out as much. You can kind of pick your spots. Seattle Buffalo is one that I think we can, get on and feel pretty good about. I think there's gonna be some scoring here. Allen, Diggs are good plays that you can game stack this game. It is in Buffalo, so we do want to always keep it, it's at this time of year, Buffalo, New York, those kind of places. We want to keep an eye on the weather, but as of now, not too much concern. So I like Wilson, $7,600, and Kyler are my 2 plays as of Friday. My fade is Watson. And it's a great matchup against Jacksonville. Certainly get that. $7,100, so much cheaper than Wilson and Murray. I just, it's not a conviction type fade, but I'm not going to give you guys an easy fade. That doesn't do much for us on the pod. So I try to make a tough call, and that's where most of these fades and stuff I go to is, who's a guy that you really want to hear? Would you play him? And so I just think I would go Mahomes, Wilson, Murray, Herbert, even maybe Allen because of rushing much quicker than I would go Watson, and mainly because of the weapons. Watson's just, besides Fuller, who's on the trade block. So what's his mentality like? He's got to do it all himself, and that O-line's still not great. So, if I'm picking one up here that I was going to try to take like a fade on, it would be Watson for me. Value plays. I like Matt Ryan, $6,400, 3%. So value, and especially in NFL, a little bit different than golf. 64 is kind of cheap, but more so it's the ownership for me here. 3% against Denver, great matchups. We'll see how Ridley is, but they still have enough weapons even if Ridley sits out. Could be a boost to Gage or somebody come Sunday, but I like that spot. A good different quarterback type deal. Hard for me not to play the guys I'm going to play, but 3%, it's worth a look, especially GPPs. And then Drew Lock, if you a true kind of price savings, Atlanta secondary is not the best in the world. And $5,200, if I'm doing 20 lineups, he's 5%, very cheap. And I could do some stacking there. I like Fant always. So a different type of deal, and this could be a higher scoring game. Atlanta games tend to be that way. So it could be an under the radar and a way to really save if you're wanting to pay up elsewhere. Drew Lock's certainly someone that I at least keep my eye on. Not something I love, but I want to give an option of somebody out there if we're talking about low price guys. Running back injury concerns, Jacob, Harris, Gaskins is out till week 12. Looks like Sony Michel's expected to return from IR this week. Zeke with a hammy. That's peculiar there. See what happens. Not really a great matchup anyways against Pittsburgh, 14-point dogs. Who knows who the quarterback's going to be? It looks like Cooper Rush maybe. Lindsey, Drake, Freeman, Carson, Mixon, Sanders, and then Eckler looks like he's supposed to return from his IR stint. So those are the ones we're keeping an eye on. Play for me, Cook. I want to go back there. I know it seems like you're chasing, but I mean, I've been on Cook for a while. I love Cook. Bet him last year to be the rushing leader. And had he not got hurt, I think that was in the bank. Dude just runs so well, and Detroit's not good at stopping the run. I like this game in general. You'll hear me talk about it throughout the pod. Minnesota Detroit's another potential game stack. And that's why I said we're so spread out in ownership, because you got, we just talked about Buffalo, Houston, Jacksonville's got some spots. Minnesota, Detroit, Kansas City is, somewhat going to be used a lot. Atlanta, Denver, another potential higher on the slate. Even a game I like that's, 7th in the list, Arizona, Miami. So definitely some spots to take advantage of. But I like Cook. He's priced up for sure, 8,200. I think a lot of people are anxious to go back to McCaffrey. But at that price and him coming off, I think true ownership wise, I'm going to have him low, and we'll get to that in a second. But if I'm going to pay up at that spot, I like Cook, but here in a few minutes, I'm also going to tell you I like CMC because of the ownership side of it. But he's going to be 25-30%. Cook is, but I just love the matchup. He's going to get what we got last week. Well, probably not. I mean, it was not a once in a lifetime type game, but 4 touchdowns and all that work, especially receiving as well. It's just hard to ignore that production. And I think they're going to ride him. I mean, they have to, right? But they have the good wide receivers as well. So I think they could spread the ball out against Detroit, and their defense just is giving up stuff as well. So you could have a little bit of a higher scoring game here. It's 52 in the market totals wise. And so I'd love to get some action in this game. There's several players I'm going to mention, and Cook's the first one I'm going to go to. Next is Jacobs for me, significantly priced down from Cook, $1,900 cheaper at 6,300. 16-17% ownership right now, which is top 25%, but it's not crazy. I like some pieces in this game, Raiders and Chargers, that you could stack with on both sides, game stack or do mini stack. So Jacobs is someone that, again, I like how you look at his usage and market share this year. He's one of the tops, when healthy. And so I'm going to lock and load him at that price, especially. Fade for me is going to be Henry. Again, I could give you an easy fade. Zeke, he's could be banged up, bad matchup anyways. $6,600 seems cheap, but he's not going to be high owned. So that'd be kind of a cop out for me. So I'm trying to pick someone up here that you're making tough decisions on. And personally for me, if I'm going to spend up, it's going to be Cook or McCaffrey. So playing the Bears, one of the lower totals on the slate. He can obviously go off, but I don't want to say he's touchdown dependent, but he's been bottled up some. And I think a lot of it is they hadn't, thrown the ball around too great, and the Bears D's kept them in the games. The only question is, can the Bears offense score enough? And I'm just not high on Tennessee in general. So if I had to pick someone up here and, I'm not going to spend the $7,900 on him when I have the other options. So he was my fade this week. First value, again, not price value, but, one of the lower owned right now at McCaffrey. I'll be interested to see if we hear some steam or how that gets as it looks more and more like he's all in this week. I mean, he looks to go right now, but they're playing Kansas City, so they're gonna have to score. 52.5 point total there. They're 10-point dogs though, but he can catch the ball and will catch the ball a lot. So there's not too much of a worry there. The only thing I can think is people don't want to pay the 8,500, highest on the slate. For his first game back, but I don't mind paying it and getting on him if he's going to truly stay at that sub 10% mark. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, if he winds up getting up around 10-15%, then that's different. I don't want to eat the 8,500 plus him be one of the higher top 5 of the slate. So we'll keep an eye on that come Sunday. And then true value price wise, I still like Swift. I've been on him many weeks. That game again, Detroit, Minnesota, I think it's a good angle. $5,000. He's 9%, 10%, probably in that range right now, ownership wise. I've said a couple weeks ago, but I continue to think he's going to see more and more and more market share as the season goes on. And they, I don't want to necessarily go bell cow because that in itself, there's not many of those in the league, but it gets enough that I think the 5,000 is still too cheap for him, and it's a good value play if you're trying to pay up elsewhere. Wide receivers, injury concerns, A.J. Brown, Godwin, Shepard. Galladay is doubtful. So anytime they actually put someone on doubtful, it doesn't look good. Crowder, Michael Thomas, who knows that he's ever come back, Hilton, and then Ridley, like I mentioned. My play, first one to go with, is kind of a stacking with Kyler, is Hopkins. You start doing that, it gets expensive, so you're gonna have to find somewhere to pay down. But last week there were people that they crammed in Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, made it a little easier having Hardman, that was super cheap. But I mean, you can go there and you can still make it work. It's a little tougher, but just true play. I like Hopkins, and you could theoretically play him without Kyler. I mean, you could try to save at quarterback, get a price down quarterback and still get Hopkins, who gets most of the targets. If you want to pay up at running back too, it starts to get real tough. Where are you going to find your value at? But it's there. There's some there this week if you want to take the chances. Great matchup this week for him. We know he's going to get a ton of targets, $8,200. Not running to the table to pay $8,200 for wide receiver a lot. Devontae Adams is one that I trust up there. Hopkins, obviously, just because I have a good feel that they're going to get the targets, and I feel that way this week. So he's my first play. Next is Thielen. Back to that Minnesota-Detroit game. He has a great matchup. I think it's going to be high scoring, competitive game. 6,700, pretty good price there. I'll get to a value in a second, but I also like Jefferson, who's coming in much lower ownership. But Thielen is only 11 to 13% range right now ownership. I just like that game in general this week. It's gonna be one I'm targeting, along with Buffalo, Seattle, Arizona, Miami are kind of where I hover to right now. Fade for me is Allen Robinson, almost 7,000. Again, this goes back to kind of the Henry deal. A lower total in that game. He can go. I just don't trust the quarterbacks right now in Chicago to pay up for a guy like Robinson. He can definitely dominate a game, no doubt. I just don't know if there's anybody there to get him the ball. So that's my biggest worry, and that's why he's my fade right now. Value Jefferson, $6,100, but this is more on the ownership side. It's currently only 4%. So see how that moves. It's a good start to a good stack or mini stack there. You can go Cook, Jefferson, Cook, Thielen. You go all three. You go two of them. Run back Swift, who's cheap. Hawkinson, I think, is in play. You talk about him in a little bit, but 4% ownership I like that a lot right now. He's had some boomer bust type setups, but I like his matchup this week. I like Thielen a hair better, obviously. That's why I put him there, and so does everybody. I mean, other people is 3 times the ownership, but at 4%, I think that's a potential guy to keep our eyes on to get leverage on the field. That low ownership value. This is more money. Is Jones Jr. His ownership probably will take a little spike as Galladay looks to be out. Him and Hawkinson should see creep up some. But $5,100 and that kind of matchup, again, we're trying to find some value. So you get Swift and him, 5,000 and 5,100. Now I'm still in a good game script. I like guys that can score and getting me my value plays there so I can pay up elsewhere. So Jones Jr., $5,100, definitely in play for me this week. Injury concerns tied in, none really. Kelsey's the one I like. You kind of have to look at him as like your wide receiver 2 or something like that. $7,200 is a lot at tight end. Obviously, last week we saw he can get there. Against Carolina, bad matchup for Carolina with him. That's a matchup play for me. It really came down to him or Waller, as my plays this week. And I think for me, it's going to be play one, fade the other. They're both the 2 highest owned. Waller's a little higher, and I think it's more of the ownership side. So that was my deal. It was play Kelsey, and I said, well, if I'm gonna do that, then probably fade Waller as of Friday. 15% ownership, $5,800. And I think there's some good cheap tight end plays, which is probably where I go. I don't think I'm gonna pay up at tight end this week at all. I like Hunter Henry. I like Noah Fant. I like Hawkinson, even $5,100 with Galladay out. His targets should increase. So I don't think I'll pay. I think that's the highest I'll probably go price wise is 5,100 because I'm going to need somewhere. I like so many of the higher price guys this week, or a few of them that I want to try to cram in, whether it be Cook or, getting Hopkins, Kyler type of deal that I need to save some money. And I don't want to really pay up at the tight end position this week. So I like Henry is my value at the $4,000 this week to save some money and good upside. And I still like those other guys that I mentioned. Defense, definitely a spot where you can save money if you want. Pittsburgh, probably the easiest to shove in, but they're expensive for a reason. $4,900 against Dallas. That team's just struggling right now. Probably another new quarterback this week, as I think Dalton's on the COVID, or I think it's COVID, right now. Obviously, he's still recovering, but I think now it's more the COVID deal. So I don't think he's going to play. Again, don't know if I can pay the $4,900. If you can fit it and it fits kind of your builds, it may be worth it this week. Kind of cheap play for me is, Atlanta, as much as I like Locke, he still does make bad throws and can turn it over. And they can get some sacks and stuff like that, but they could give up 20 plus points and still get like a defensive touchdown or a interception or two or fumble or something like that. And it really is the price deal. $2,500 opens up a lot if you start with Atlanta on defense, and then kind of a 2B was also Houston, just because Jacksonville, Minshew's not playing, and they're just not very good in general. Houston doesn't really excite me on defense. They can get some sacks. So, one sack, fumble, strip sack, something like that. They're 3,100, a little bit more than Atlanta, but those are some cheap options. And I'm going to go cheap at defense this week, most likely because of what I'm trying to fill in from above. Always put Washington in the mix there, just as a side note, just because their pass rush is so good and they're playing the Giants. And we know Daniel Jones likes to turn the ball over at least once or twice a game. 3,400 is a little bit higher up there, but those three right there, I could mix and match any of them depending on how my builds are going between the Texans, Washington, and Atlanta. Last four out for me, Chase Edmonds. Looks like Drake's going to be out. So if he is, I think it's a good spot for Edmonds. He does catch the ball well. 6,800. I think he'll still garner some ownership. Kyler likes him, has mentioned that before. So he's a guy that very right there on the bubble for me getting into the, actual playbook plays, but someone I'm certainly going to put as a potential, especially stacking wise. Herbert, I like him. I like this kid. I played him. He helped me save my week last week on NFL in the afternoon slate. $6,800. I love the matchup. I like I like Henry, as I mentioned. Keenan Allen is a guy that you can pair with him that I definitely like. He was right on the bubble as well. And that's kind of what I put here. I put Herbert, Allen, so those were guys that I'm definitely on the bubble with. Not on the bubble. They just were right on the edge of getting in general. I think Metcalf, Lockett right there as well. That's a coin flip to decide who you think is going to go off or who's going to be the one this week. I guess the joke would be it's Lockett's turn after Metcalf's week last week, and Lockett had the week before. He's certainly $1,000 cheaper, so he's going to be much higher owned. So if I was only looking at one, it may be Metcalf on the sense of the ownership side, but either one of them. And then Hawkinson, kind of mentioned it earlier. He's right on the bubble for me at tight end. With Golladay looking to be out, I think him and Jones get a lot more targets in a game that I think will be, higher scoring. So those are kind of the guys throw in there, just to mention before we, get to the end here. Stack attack. I get my three favorite stacks. Most of the time you can figure it out by now, but just to kind of document it. Kyler, Edmonds, Hopkins. I like that mix. Cook, Thielen, Jefferson. I think you can mix and match there. Both those you can run it back on the other side for sure. Miami, I'm not as big on Miami this week because Tua didn't play great. He got the win, but it's most of the defensive stuff. I think he threw for like 90-something yards. So I'm holding off on that, and Gaskins is out. So the Arizona side, I like, and that's one of my, we'll get to in a second, but one of my two favorite betting plays this week. Packers are number one, but that one's not on the Super 7. So, but the Cook, Thielen, Jefferson certainly can do some mix and match game stacking there between Hawkinson, Jones Jr., Swift. So And then the last one is the one I just mentioned, Herbert, Allen, Henry. I think the Charger stack is kind of a sneaky one. I think that game, could be a good shootout, good fun game. It's 51.5, so it's already projected to be one of the top up there. And I like that mix. I think that's one could be a little bit different as far as ownership goes. You got 9% Herbert. I know Allen's up there, but 18% Allen. And then Henry, my tight end, I like this week, 10%. A little bit cheaper, so when you start Herbert, Allen, Henry, you're saving money compared to Hopkins, Kyler. So there's $1,200 drop from Hopkins to Allen, and then Kyler to Herbert, another $1,000. So there's $2,200 in savings. And then you get a cheap tight end at 4,000. So good starting stack there. That's cheap. If you want to go that route, I think that's certainly a stack that's in play for me if I'm doing a 3 max, 5 max type of deal too. Betting contest, Super 7 spreads are up on the website for the contest this week. I liked Packers. They're not on the mix, though. That would have been my number one play. But I like the Cardinals, -5 on the spreads. It'll be my free release for you guys. It's one I've already released to the community. I guess everything's free this week because I already mentioned that, so it doesn't really matter. But you can go check it out, so you can read all that stuff. Cardinals -5, and I like the Lions +5.5 on the Super 7 spread. I think it's gonna be a good game with Minnesota, but I like that to be a close game. So I like the 5.5 there. They are also my dog of the week. I think the Lions beat the Vikings in a close matchup. Something like 28-27, 31-30, something like that. So I like the Lions as my upset of the week. Survivor picks, if you're still in your pools out there, congrats. I am still alive in mine. Had some scares. I had the Bucks, I believe, this week on Monday night. That was very close. But this should be a very quiet week unless you're getting to the point where you use a lot of these. But, you got the Steelers laying 14. That's obviously an easy one to go to. I don't see much of a scenario where they lose. Always can go with the Chiefs. They're playing the Panthers, laying 10.5. A little bit more questionable. Texans, just in general. It's not, but if you also want to try to save some teams, you want to use teams you won't normally use on a week. Like, you're pretty much going to be able to use the Steelers and Chiefs and those kind of Baltimore several times throughout the year. They're going to be in good spots. Houston, not so much. This may be the only time this year. Jacksonville, so they're laying 7. Be a little more questionable there, but if you are searching, and then the next one, same deal. Patriots, are they going to be the first one to let the Jets win? You wouldn't think so, but we don't know what's going on in that locker room and in general. You think they come out fired up, but that is one you could use because they're not someone that you're going to have a good spot on this year. And if you've already used the Chiefs, Steelers type of deal, those are the other two I kind of like. As always, join us 9:00 my time, 10:00 Eastern for the Audible on Sunday. It's been going very, very well. A lot of good talk there. You guys throw great questions out. Gets us going in there. Last week it was, major weather stuff. So it helped to walk through that and how do we change? And that really does change stuff. Like I wasn't going to be on the Chiefs at all. And I personally didn't get to them. I wish I would have, but I said, hey, this is a spot with all these question marks. What's some of these games? I talked about the Chargers as well. You can play which I wish I would have done. I played the afternoon slate and I did well on it, but if you would have done the main slate and went afternoon teams, you still could have done well. But the Chiefs were a good spot for the week. And Friday, I wasn't thinking that necessarily, but you get that many games impacted by wind, which wind affects, football way more than, rain or something like that. It's something, especially in the NFL, that last minute stuff requires, we want to get everything in before we start locking in decisions. Obviously we can't wait to do the pod too late because we want to get it out there and have some time shelf life, but certainly, important to come see us there at 10:00 Eastern. I try to get done to leave at least 2 hours for people to watch replay if they're in church or whatever, and it doesn't work for them. That's why we started going earlier and you guys voted on that. So that's been a good deal. Remember, March to the Masters promo going on through next Sunday. The putter will be given away Monday. On the Smash this week, I'll talk about the other prizes we're going to do. do some prize packs, giveaways, stuff like that. I'm going to do 3 winners. So there'll be 3 winners drawn during this whole promo for that. And we'll also do the other rate and review us on iTunes and subscribe on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube now, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like the video. It goes a long way for us. gupscorner.com/membership. This week, free preview week, all the content out there. You can go check out. You won't have access to, our premium Slack, our premium chats like the Audible and E9, or the tools. If you do want to check those out, you can use the code upgrade now if you like the written content you're seeing in there. But every sport, all articles all week have been free, so you can go check them out. Football, UFC, NASCAR, the Breeders' Cup, OG John stuff, all the football and all the golf. So it's been a fun week. The community's growing again, which is awesome to see. We'll have some, we do some fun giveaways in the community from time to time, and I'm pretty sure we'll probably do one next week for the Masters. So it's a good time to join. Again, Masters is the code, 30% off. Look forward to seeing you guys Sunday morning. A lot to go on this week. I'll talk about, what we're looking as far as Masters schedule week. It'd be similar to most golf weeks, obviously more in depth in the chat, and the last minute stuff Wednesday is going to be super fun that night. So I'm looking forward to the Masters week, but don't want to put it ahead of what we got on the slate this weekend. Appreciate everybody. Hope you guys have a blessed day and a great weekend. I will see you Sunday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks. Have a good night.